is up? RotoGrinders special time, MLK Day, 12:30 on the East Coast. Talking some NBA DFS, taking you all the way up the lock, 2 o'clock on the East Coast. That is the tip-off. It's a 5-gamer for FanDuel and DK as well. Myself, Bobby Gomes, former $1 million winner. Speaking of which, boys, shout out to Bobby Fi. Bobby Fi took down the Billy. We were talking a little bit of football pre-show. And I know, Bobby, you had some football teams as well this weekend. But you know what it's like to win the Millie. I saw Bobby Fi won the Millie. Shout out to him. Any thoughts as far as the football was good? The football was good. Like, as far as separating DFS and gambling, whatever, it was just good. It was the games were fun. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like the snow game. It's just you can't. And no other sport. Just like watchability. I mean, being there, I can't imagine. You know, from a Floridian, and you're a fellow Floridian right now, at least. But I mean, you know all about the snow up there in New England, but yeah, man. Did we watch any takes from the football yesterday outside of, if you have anything DFS wise, by all means, fire that off too. But just curious, any takeaways from you?
Not really. Congrats to Bobby Fi. I did think the games are good. Yeah, I thought they were obviously better than last weekend.
Yeah.
I love the Detroit-Washington game. Like, that was one of the first games that I knew I was sitting down to watch a really good football game, and it for sure was. Felt bad for Mark Andrews last night. Just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. Mark Andrews is a good player, and he's the new Bill Buckner, and it's like it's kind of rough there. But do you have any thoughts
on the Buckner thing? I know you're a Boston guy. You're going to get me started on this, but the Buckner thing is ridiculous because the score was tied when that happened. The score was already tied. It was, people make it seem like he blew the game. That also was game 6. That wasn't game 7. I've always defended Buckner for this. It's so stupid because there was a pass ball that happened before that tied the game up. And there was other weird things that happened as well. It wasn't his fault, but I don't mean to sidetrack. It continues.
Sometimes that's just how it goes. Like, everything that could go wrong goes wrong, and I feel like that was the case for Mark Andrews last night. Then I went on Twitter, and people were like, the stuff people are saying is like so insensitive.
On Twitter, no,
but like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Can't imagine.
Like, he's been a good player forever, and just completely getting bashed.
It's not just a bunch of reasonable takes. That's what I would, and like a pleasant discourse. That's not. That's not what's happening. I'm sure it's got to be terrible for him. He played a bad game. But what I'll say, Bob, is that I had him over on receiving yards, and he got there. So he's clutch. That's all I care about is I bet the over. So he had a spectacular game for me, as far as I'm concerned. But you're right. But Henry had a drop over in the game that was really important. Of course, he had Andrews had the drop in the last play of the game. He had the fumble in the previous drive. My thing is, like, and it's the dumbest. We'll talk basketball in a second. It's a 5-gamer. We got plenty of time. No worries. But like, Lamar is he's not clutch. He's a failure. He can't. And it's like, first of all, like, only one team makes it to the Super Bowl in the AFC. So like, it's not like everybody's a failure. Everybody's not clutch, and they all blow it. How people just want to frame it that way. And that's probably the whole Twitter first take mentality. Right? Did you win or did they lose it? But just like he played great, and somebody had to lose. We knew this going in. One quarterback amongst Josh Allen and Lamar had to lose, and it doesn't mean that the other guy's a failure or a loser. If it's just the ball bounces, the coin goes one way in one particular game in a small sample. It's just I saw some of that stuff too. Like, Lamar is just the photoshopping. They made him look like he was like Joel Embiid in Baltimore Ravens, and it's kind of funny, but it also so stupid.
Yeah, because it'll get like swept up in the narrative, right? He played well enough to win the game.
Sure.
Like, they tied it up in retrospect. Like, they should have tied it up. And yeah, it's just like you said, coin flip. Someone had to lose. They could have said the same thing about Josh Allen. If he lost, now Josh Allen has to go in and beat KC. Sure, if he loses, they'll say the same thing about him next week.
That he's a big loser. Yeah.
He's a big loser. But yeah, only one team can make it to the Super Bowl and eventually win the Super Bowl. So it's kind of tough to just make that claim.
Yeah. Not a lot of reasonable. It's like, I have friends that have like season long fantasy and they complain like this stinks and that stinks. I can't believe I lost. What do you mean you can't believe you lost? You're in a 12-team league and only one team is happy at the end. 11 people are miserable. Do you not understand math? Do I have to explain this to you? You're signing up to like most likely for failure. That's just what it is.
Most likely to lose. Yep.
That's what you signed up for. Understand that going in. All right. What's up, chat? Thank you for joining us on an afternoon here on a Monday. 5-gamer. Yeah, I think that people want Buffalo to be KC, right? We're just kind of, I see producer Steve says, Josh Allen, please beat the Chiefs. That's who like America's rooting for, right? America's rooting for Buffalo over KC. I think we're kind of done with KC. Are we over it? I don't know. Maybe we make the
I have a weird take here, but I would like Buffalo to win, but I've warmed up to KC, probably bandwagon jumping a little bit, but I want to see them kind of challenge. I want to see Mahomes challenge Brady for Super Bowls.
I see.
Yeah.
I just think my issue is I'm not like jealous or I don't have a team that's not winning. I don't have a favorite team. It's just that they just got boring. I don't like how they're winning. It's not fun. They used to be fun to watch. Kansas City, like years ago. They're just not that fun anymore. Now they just like win with defense and every once in a while Mahomes will make a play, but he doesn't have to do a heck of a lot. He's spectacular still. And he's not doing it the greatest pieces. And that's kind of like Brady too, right? Remember, Brady had a couple years, some terrible receiving options and still made it work.
That 10-year window that they didn't win the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Chiefs are doing a much, much better job, like replenishing the roster. If you just look at the receivers that they've brought in for him, like he has DeAndre Hopkins, he has Hollywood Brown. They're drafting well, Xavier Worthy. The defense is fantastic. Like Brady's teams were, I feel like, a lot more depleted in that 10-year window after their third Super Bowl, where they just weren't really putting the talent around him. Where I think Andy Reid, I also think I think Andy Reid's a better coach than Bill Belichick. I'd take Andy Reid and Spags over BB.
It's a conversation. Yeah, I think it's a conversation. I'm not going to
I think I'd take Brady over Mahomes if I had to choose.
I mean, I'm LeBron over Jordan. I'm probably Mahomes.
I'm LeBron over Jordan too.
Yeah, I think I could nostalgia's tough, right? Brady hasn't lost in a long time.
Brady beat him in the AFC Championship game like at 42 and then beat him in the Super Bowl at 43 or 41 and then 43. So it's like it's kind of, until he gets the Super Bowls, it's tough to really say that he was better than him, right? That's why I want to see him. I want to see him have a shot at it,
It's so weird how we say that, and everybody does it, but Brady beat him. They've never been on the field together at the same time.
I know.
They're dealing with a different set of dynamics. But I'm not saying you're wrong to point that out. It's just it's funny to me how, they always pin the quarterbacks against each other. They've never been on the field at the same time. It's never happened. Okay. Yeah. Football should be great. We'll have plenty of time to talk about it. Final four. Good luck to Philly, Washington, KC, and Devin in chat saying, "I'll take the hate KC guy here." I'm not hating. That's not the way I'm coming off. I just think your team's kind of boring. So I'm just kind of bored by Kansas City. It's not hate.
I don't know why you think they're boring.
They're not an exciting team. They're just not fun to watch.
They do everything right. They're like the most efficient team. You love efficiency. Yeah. You're going to pick the chalkiest players today when we get into NBA. You love efficient. They're completely the most efficient team I think we've seen in a very, very long time.
It's you know what? Tim Duncan was a spectacular basketball player.
Yeah.
Great fundamental. That was actually his nickname. But not the most fun guy to watch. He did.
And how many championships did they win? They won a ton of championships.
Well, he won a lot of championships, yeah, for sure. But just not a lot of fun. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Maybe that's on me. Maybe it's subjective, I imagine.
Fun doesn't matter if you're winning, Dean.
Yeah, but Casey's Mahomes has been boring all season long. That offense has been boring all season. Winning, sure, but the most, and also everybody's talking about the refs helping him out. I don't know.
I don't think it's as boring as you're making it out to be. They got everyone back. They're finally fully healthy. Yeah.
All right. We got a 5-gamer. We have plenty of time to talk about. We did get news before we went on air. Amon Thompson officially in for Houston. Has anything changed as far as Rudy Gobert's status? I don't think so. So, Bobby, I read about this today in the survey, and I think it's going to hold for me. There's only one 2 o'clock game, Detroit-Houston. It's a 5-gamer, and then it's kind of sporadic, right? Minnesota, Memphis, 2:30, 3 o'clock, Atlanta, New York. We have Cat and Josh Hart questionable. And the other thing is, Bobby, is that we have New York, who's notorious for saying game time decision. That's their update for injuries. And they don't tell you until like a half hour before the game, right? Basically, when the lineups come out, they tell you a half hour. So it's 3 o'clock, they'll tell you 2:30. I'm getting the point I'm getting at here, Bobby. I'm curious your take as well. Phoenix is taking on Cleveland. We have another key piece, potentially. Bradley Beal is questionable. And then the late night hammer, if you will, the late afternoon hammer, if you will. Boston at Golden State. Boston fully healthy right now. Golden State, they are beat up, and Steph seems highly questionable. He's officially questionable, and they already have slow-mo, no Kyle Anderson, no Draymond, no Kuminga, no Pods. So there's a chance Golden State really opens up in a bad matchup, but like some value there. But we don't know when that's going to drop. That is the back half of the TNT doubleheader for what it's worth. So I mean, like if Steph can play, he's going to try to play, I imagine, but it seems highly questionable. We'll see, and we won't know. We won't know that Memphis, by the way, Minnesota is the first half of the national TV doubleheader. But what I'm getting at here, Bobby, I'm curious to get your overall thoughts as far as the slate before we fully dive in. Is I think backloading is a very, very important key to this slate. You're not certain it's going to work out for you, but Detroit, Houston is the first game, and sure, there are pieces, I suppose. You can always play. I mean, Amin Thompson's been awesome playing against his brother today. Şengün's great. But, both these teams, as healthy as they're going to be, basically, no screaming values. I think I'm punting this game. Is kind of what I don't play a ton of lineups. I don't think you are today either. But tell me otherwise, please. But that's my strategy, Bobby, is just kind of waiting for information to unload. And I don't want to front load too much because what if Josh Hart and Cat are both out? What if Steph is out? Like already, like Schroeder looks all right, Buddy Hield looks pretty interesting. And if Steph's out, like it should really open up. And it just trying to figure that out because we also might not get that news until after 3:30, after the Phoenix-Cleveland game. So it's just one game sitting right there. And what are you going to do? you got to make a decision at some point. And, are you going to be ready? Are you going to be right? I don't know. But just kind of laying out what we're looking at as far as the 5-gamer. Do you see that thought process similarly? You like the Detroit-Houston game? How are you attacking the slate today?
Only playing one team, and I'm taking the same approach you are. I'm not playing any of Detroit-Houston. I will have a lot of Minnesota and Cleveland. Minnesota with questionable tags, a couple good values there. Cleveland also, Mobley questionable. I think that some good players on Cleveland that you can get to as well, and then waiting on news. I think Jalen Brunson currently is probably the strongest play on the slate. But Dennis Schroeder is hitting our first optimal. Maybe we expect Curry to sit. Not really sure. Or projection teams expect Curry to sit, but
yeah, he's projecting that way with Curry in. Yeah, that's with Curry in. He's projecting pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a revenge game too. Remember how terrible Dennis Schroeder was for Boston? He's awful. He was there for like a half a year.
I don't even remember him with Boston.
Yeah. It happened. You can Google it. There are images of him wearing that jersey.
Didn't he pass up 90 million or whatever? 80 million?
He's
from LA or something.
Yeah, I think the Lakers were going to give him a bunch of money, and he passed it up, and he bet on himself. And I love it when players bet on themselves. Like Isaiah Thomas was another guy. Remember, IT2 did it as well. I can't remember the scenario, but he had a bunch of money coming, or right before it happened, like he either got hurt or exposed for being terrible.
Hip injury.
Yeah. But
I think he might have got exposed to a little bit in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Schroeder rejected a contract, actually, now that you mentioned it. I think he did. He got a pretty nice proposal, and it just did not work out for him. Like, he's going to be fine, but, he could be a lot more better off, obviously. Oh, by the way, I should mention it's a movie Monday. Let's go ahead. Oh, we already dropped the clues. Producer Steve's way ahead of me because he knows we have to get this out before crunch time comes in. Crunch time coming in around 1:30. We got Tasteful Tides, Tim, and Kyle Murray. Oh, a very somber. Hopefully Kyle's all right. We talked to him about going to the Detroit game. Oh, yeah.
I just had a feeling the Commanders were going to win that game.
Just did you bet on them or anything or no?
No. When I was sitting down, I was like, I was rooting for the Commanders very, very early.
I mean, as much of a well-oiled machine Detroit is, and how awesome Gibbs, some of their pieces, it's like Jared Goff is the guy we're trusting to be the commander of it. He's fine, I guess. Dan
Campbell can't win. He'll never win a Super Bowl.
Oh, you can't say that. That's just
he'll never win a Super Bowl. He does too much. He just does really dumb stuff, I would say.
Well,
let's talk about letting the guy that just humped the end zone throw a pass like 15 minutes before he was humping the end zone. Now you're going to let him throw a pass on an end around. He's your best decision maker in the biggest game of your season. You're going to put the ball in his hands to throw a pass. Come on.
Was it 3 pumps or 2? Did you count the pumps? I did see the humping.
There was a lot of pumps. They stopped him. You don't let that guy throw a pass in that game.
Incredible.
I was all over like the Pats getting Ben Johnson. I'm very happy they went with Vrabel.
So you're saying Ben Johnson now is never going to be a successful head coach, I guess? Is that you're also saying?
He'll go to Chicago and not win anything either.
Oh, my gosh. I love the pumps. I thought it was I like fun. You don't see
it's fun. It's fun, but he's not a decision maker. You're not going to put the ball in his hands and have him throw a pass like 15 minutes later, right?
The first clue in Movie Monday. If you guys don't know, I mean, if you don't, whatever. Here's your refresher. Jump in the Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Be the first person to tell me what movie I'm talking about, and you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. You did put a guess in, Bobby. I like that you're playing along. Your guess was not correct, but I do appreciate.
It's never correct. I've never gotten one of these. I've never even came close.
Well, you know how like you say that Dan Campbell's never going to win a Super Bowl.
I'm never going to get one of these right. Yeah, never.
How does it feel if somebody says that? Until you do, until you actually do. Tell me what movie we're talking about, and you'll get yourself a week free of RG Premium. There you go. The first clue again is it's botany. Botany is the first clue. Why did you guess Batman 2? I'm curious.
No, it's Batman Forever.
Oh, okay. The one with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, I was thinking Poison Ivy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Wait, is it Forever? Which one's?
Yes, I think that's Batman Forever. Batman 2, like the Batman 2 is not. That's not coming out until like a couple of years. But it's so confusing because they keep.
Yeah, they keep just
rebooting him and whatever.
Rebooting everything possible that you can reboot.
Because there's no more original ideas, unfortunately. Okay, so yeah, jump in the Discord. I see The Happening is being guessed, Jurassic Park. Neither of those are correct. But again, if you guess this correctly, you get yourself a week free of RG Premium. Let's talk about, we both kind of poo-pooed the game, but let's acknowledge the existence. Detroit and Houston, 223 is the total. Houston is an 8-point favorite, Houston, a good defensive team here, obviously, a slower pace as well. With Amen Thompson being ruled in, their injury stuff, as far as taking advantage of that, not really present. We've already adjusted to the absence of Jabari Smith. And as far as Detroit, they've adjusted to the absence of Jaden Ivey. Otherwise, these teams are clean. They're clear. They're good to go. No issues injury-wise. So 2 healthy rosters. Not a great environment. It's the first game on the slate. We both want to be in that Braveheart hold mode. So I don't have a lot to say about this game. Like, certainly you can roster Şengün. He's coming in at 15% on DK. Duran at 11%. His minutes are just fickle. 26 is his projection. It's hard to see him get above that. Cade Cunningham can certainly be the highest scoring player on this slate. If you look at it, like, it's a 5-gamer, but there's no LeBron or Davis or Giannis or Joker or SGA or Ball. Like, our highest projected player is Cat at 52 DK points, and of course he's questionable right now. then it's Tatum, Edwards, not the top guy. So certainly Cunningham could be the top scoring play in the slate, and it wouldn't shock any of us. I don't think I'm getting there. Just again, I'm holding. I don't have a lot to say about Detroit, Houston. If you want to add something, go for it. The people know that they can play Cunningham if they want. You can always play him. You can always play Şengün. But for me, it's just a pass.
Yeah, for me, it's just a pass too. I think Cade does have a good ceiling. The opportunity cost of point guard is pretty high, though, and we're waiting on news that'll make some point guards a better play. So not really interested in Cade. You hit on Duren. He's fine. You obviously play Şengün, but to me, like, this game's just pretty much a complete pass.
Okay, so 230 is Minnesota-Memphis. It's a pretty appealing total, right? 237 is a total. Pretty tight. Memphis is a 6-point favorite. We did get Ja. Is he officially upgraded the probable? I saw the notes that he was likely to play now at this point. I wanted to see if it's on the injury report. Yeah, okay, he's probable on the injury report as well. Vince Williams, of course, is still out. Marcus Smart is still out. Edey is available for what it's worth. DiVincenzo not playing basketball for Minnesota still. And the big one, I would say, Rudy Gobert is questionable. And as of right now, I think Naz Reid's a perfectly fine play on DK at 5K. But if we lose Gobert, I think Naz becomes pretty awesome. Edwards is also one of the best plays on the board. Memphis is the fastest team, as far as pace. So, a couple extra possessions here and there. I like Jaden McDaniels a good bit, especially on FanDuel, where you can get those stocks going. I think he's even cheaper on FanDuel than he's on DK. So that's the old cheat code. It's 4.5 on DK, 4.3. No, wait, hold on. Am I reading? Oh, 5.2. Is he 5.2 on FanDuel? Oh, well, he's still good. He's still good to play over there. In any event, how do you feel about Memphis and Minnesota?
Yeah, so from the Minnesota side, if Gobert is ruled out, it would be Naz Reid for me. That is going to be the center that I'm going to try to get to pretty much everywhere. Yeah, Jaden McDaniels, I think he's also a fine value. You hit on Edwards. My favorite play in this game from a tournament perspective is running it back with Ja Morant, just because everyone's going to basically play these Wolves, in a way to differentiate them is probably to play a guy on the other side. And my favorite is Morant. He's like $100 more than Jalen Brunson, who I would expect if Towns were to sit, he's going to be pretty chalky. Is Towns still questionable? Yeah, he's Q-tagged. So
yeah, he's questionable. And again, I don't think we're going to know this until – so if you go by what New York has historically done mostly, not always, but mostly – a half hour before their game starts, that's when they finally let you know. Like they're going to tell us in about an hour or so game time or something like that, right? Some nonsense. But as Minnesota-Memphis is locking, we're going to get news as far as Cat and Hart, I think. So that's the other part of it is like, and again, I think Cat probably plays. I believe he practiced. I don't know about Hart. And certainly we like Brunson. You mentioned Brunson earlier. He would just get bumped up a little bit more as far as usage and projection if we happen to lose Cat. I'm just a little bit wary of getting too tied into this game, but I really, really like Naz if Gobert doesn't go. And if Gobert doesn't go, I know he's been shaky of late, but Julius Randle, a little more solidified role as well. Minnesota plays a really, really tight rotation, so
I can't bring myself to play Randall, but I get it on a 5-game slate. Like he's definitely in play.
I have the qualifier if I think he's playable right now, but I get it. But I feel a lot better if Gobert happens to sit.
He just needs to be traded to a team that needs him to do everything, is going to perennially finish like in the 9 or 10 seed in whatever conference he goes to.
No, he's got to be the top guy on a tanking team.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like I'm saying,
or he won't let them tank. Pretty much, like they're going to be. I don't know. They'll be better than what they should be.
Put him on Brooklyn.
Cooper Flag.
Give him 40 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the guy you pass around in the league. He'll tank for you. I know he was actually pretty good for New York, but I think he overachieved in that scenario as well. Amazing trade. by New York, turning Randall into Cat. Memphis side, the Triple J, Ja, Bane. I know
Ja. You're not on Ja. I know that for a fact. Like, you're waiting for Brunson. I think Brunson's definitely the best play if we get Towns out. But I think Ja gets squeezed. Can you see Ja getting squeezed in this instance?
A little bit, yeah. Pulling up our ownership stuff right now. Edwards is going to get played over him. The most popular play in this game is actually going to be, on DK at least, is Sante Aldama. According to our projections, 4.9. He's 6K on FanDuel, where he's fine, I guess. But 4.9 on DK seems like a really, really strong value according to our projections. So I do like Santi. McDaniel's coming in at 24%. Nas coming in at 21%. That would skyrocket if we lose Gobert.
Nas is a lock if we lose Gobert, for sure, right?
I will probably have him in every lineup. Yeah. I would imagine so. Like, there's good chalk and bad chalk. I think he's good chalk. We have Ja at 10% on DK. And again, the tricky thing with him is 31 minutes for a superstar. You should probably be grabbing a couple more. But, that's what it is. Like, every once in a while, he'll jump above that. But it's hard to project him for more than 31.
It's a tight spread, though, correct? Like,
big number.
It's a big number. I know if the Knicks are just going to play as many minutes as possible, so it makes Brunson's like the better play for sure from a value perspective. But I just think Ja does have a ceiling where he could be valuable in tournaments.
Anything else? I saw Wells being mentioned in chat as a cheapie. Don't mind him. He's his projection's not that great for what it's worth. But I don't mind him. I think he's perfectly fine. Triple J is great, but his price has gotten up there a little bit out of control. Also, if Gobert is out, I would think that the Memphis guys get a little bit of a bump just because I know Gobert's not as good defensively these days as he once was, but taking him out would certainly hinder their defense to some degree. Let's move on. 3 more games to go. Do hit that like button and subscribe and turn on those notifications if you guys are hanging out in chat. That will be much appreciated. Crunch time coming in 30 minutes or so. Let's give out the second clue. I'm way behind. The second clue on Movie Monday, it is Instructor. So Botany and Instructor. Those are our first 2 clues for Movie Monday. We shall move on. Atlanta in New York. This is high and tight, Bobby. 236.5 is the total. It's a big boy total for sure. New York is a 6.5 point favorite. Again, Cat and Hart are both currently questionable. As far as Atlanta, Jalen Johnson's good to go with that shoulder. Rich Shea is still out. Trae Young officially probable. He's not missing this game. He loves playing in the Garden. I always think of the I don't know if you ever saw it circulating. He was at a wrestling event in the Garden wearing his Hawk stuff, and he was helping out the bad guy, and he got ejected. It's a whole scene. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but they love booing him there, and he loves being the heel in New York, so he'll be playing into that. Of course, the matchup's fine as well because New York, much better to get him on the outside as opposed to working on the inside. Speaking of working on the inside, we've seen Okongwu kind of surpass Capella the last so many games. 3 games, I want to say. Not the best Okongwu matchup, if Cat goes especially. New York's been really, really good, really solid inside defensively. But I don't think I'd play Capella. It's just kind of what I'm getting at. Okongwu, his price is baked up a little bit too. But, where are you at? You've kind of hinted at about Brunson as well. Atlanta and New York.
Yeah, if Cat were to sit, Sims and Achua would end up being the centers, and then we're getting a usage bump for all the starters. If Cat sits, I think Brunson becomes a fantastic play. You hit on in the expert survey that he's going to see Dyson Daniels' defense. Don't think it really matters. I just think he becomes a very, very strong play.
Look at you reading the survey. Shout out to you.
Yeah, reading the survey. You got to read the survey every day. Just see Dean's survey every day. I tell you everything you need to know about the slate.
Well, it's not just me. Neil's in there and Noto's in there, and I think
Chop.
I think it was Chop that wrote today as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't write the survey. No time.
You're unavailable for survey. Fair enough.
I'm unavailable for survey. For
I don't make the schedule. So, but yeah, noted going forward.
Yeah. So from like, I like these Knicks guys. I'm definitely like OG at small forward, power forward. Do you see him getting it? I would imagine if Cat sits, he gets a boost as well. So I'd be fine with him at that price. Who else is in here? Jalen Johnson. Are we done with Jalen Johnson? Just 8,800 is expensive for Jalen Johnson.
I like him a lot. I just don't love this price.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I just don't love the price.
I don't really love the matchup either. But I'm a big fan. Yeah, I think he's. I mean, as like a, just as a player, yeah, I think he's really good. But I'm not. I don't anticipate. I don't like speaking in definitives because you never know. I do not anticipate playing Jalen Johnson tonight. And I think Trey is a really interesting tournament play. We got him at 6%. Like that's too low. If you're making 20 lineups, like get him in 2. I think I don't know if I'm going to get him in my main lineup. I'll probably get him in one of my lineups.
I like Ja better than Trey.
Well, the tiebreaker, one of the tiebreakers, it's who's playing later. Yeah. But I'm not going to disagree with you. Yeah, Ja's fine. I just want the later players.
I hate playing Trey. It's in New York.
Yeah. It's going to be a scene, man. It's going to be a scene whenever Trey's in the Garden. He loves playing in the Garden.
I feel like that might be a fake narrative.
Oh, I'm not saying he's like always performed there.
He's not like a pressure guy. He's like the worst superstar in the league.
He's the Lamar Jackson of the NBA, is what you're saying.
No, he's not. Lamar Jackson is a superstar.
I know.
I don't know what Trey. He's like a poor man's superstar. He's like a studs version of Julius Randle.
My take has always been like he's the most overrated quote unquote super. I don't.
Yeah, he's the most overrated superstar that there is in the league.
I don't want to call him.
They traded Trae Young for Luka Doncic.
Well, that was draft day, but yeah,
it still doesn't matter. The best player in Europe, like he was 18 years old. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it looked kind of goofy, but he's fun though. He is fun. Like he makes fun plays. He's an exciting player to watch.
Yeah, I guess it could go back and forth in the Garden. Would Cat being out help him or hurt him? You think it would help him?
I don't know if it'll make a difference. Like I know probably incremental differences. I didn't put enough thought into that, to be honest. I kind of think Cat's going to play. I think the one that might be out is Hart, but I don't know. Again, it's just guesswork here. I think there's a pretty good chance Cat plays. I'm 99% sure I read that he practiced. So I expect him to play. Hart tends to play through things even when he probably shouldn't. So it's very possible we get a fully healthy New York team. And then the Brunson thing, like I like Brunson, and yeah, I don't like picking on Daniels. Daniels a really good defender, great barrier thief. Brunson's not been good against him this year as well, from what I've seen. But at some point you got to spend your money in this slate, right? And there's not a lot of like this. We don't have like Giannis versus Toronto or something like that, where you just know he's going to destroy them for 70. So I think Brunson's my favorite pick spends, but that's also something that might
that.
Well, yeah, you said it earlier. But I do like Trey.
I knew that without reading the survey. Let's just say that.
I do like Trey for tournaments, for sure.
Are we even getting Trey and Sims? I want to see how much we're actually getting to Trey and Sims.
I would imagine it's at least at 6%.
You must have it in front of you. 6%.
No, well, I didn't run it.
It's at 6%, yeah.
Oh, really? Did I bank it?
Yep.
Because that's what his ownership is, and it's basically even with the ownership. I thought it'd be higher than that, to be honest.
John Morant's at 6% too, for what it's worth.
Yeah. And again, I just want to backload, and if I'm forced to play, Donovan Mitchell or whatever, life can be worse. And we'll talk about that game in a second, Phoenix and Cleveland. Unless you got anything else as far as Atlanta, New York?
No, that's it.
We shall give the third clue for Movie Monday. The third clue. I got a feeling somebody's going to guess this. Is isolation. Let me know in the Discord, RotoGrinders.com.
What would lead you to think that?
I'll let you know afterwards. There is something, but I don't want to say it. But I just got a feeling that somebody's going to guess this. But all right. Minnesota. No. We already talked about Minnesota. Let's see. Let's talk about Phoenix and Cleveland. 237 is the total. This is another big boy total, right? 237 is the number. Cleveland is an 8-point favorite. They are without Evan Mobley, which is pretty important. No Mobley, no Okoro. Phoenix, we don't know about Beal. Of course, Nurkic is still out for them. Richards, we saw, was really, really good in his debut. We are projecting he starts. I'm pretty sure he did not. That was Plumlee started that game, but Plumlee goes away anyways. Either way, Richards is interesting. It's not a good matchup against Cleveland, against Jared Allen specifically, but he did get loose in his first game. Good for him. But yeah, Cleveland is projecting pretty well. Good matchup here against Phoenix. The absence of Mobley, like Niang, the minivan, who I believe you may or may not know in the real world. I don't know. I feel like you mentioned that before.
He's friends of a friend. Yeah, I know.
Friend of a friend.
I don't know him personally, but friends of a
friend. Max Strus is another potential cheapie. Like, this is what I feel like I'm going to have at least one Cav in every lineup and possibly up to 3. Niang, Garland, if you have the money, sure, Garland's great. Allen is probably my favorite play in the slate, but I don't love he's my favorite play in the slate because he's one of the most popular plays in the slate. And I don't like when the most popular play in the slate is a guy that, like, can't really create his own shot, doesn't shoot threes. He's going to get a bunch of junk underneath and dunks and lobs and things like that and probably get a double-double and probably rebound like 15 times, especially the absence of Mobley. But, I wish he wasn't as popular as he is because – and he can get going as far as stocks. He can get there that way as well. But I think it's good chalk, Jared out, especially on DK where he's 6'6". I'm just going to play him. Cleveland – oh, and Karis LeVert, who was a complete stinker last time out, drew the start. I think he's only started 2 games the entire season. They tend to get him off the bench. He was horrendous. He did not close. Again, he was just super bad. I believe was Strus. Strus has been pretty good of late. I think Niang also closed. Dean Wade started, but he doesn't always close. But I think LeVert is really interesting for tournaments, like going back to it because, the old flop flag. He tends to be better with the second unit, controlling the second unit, and we'll see how that goes down. We'll see what their starting lineup is. I don't know when. At some point, we'll see it. At some point in the middle of the slate. But how are you feeling about the Cavs and the Suns?
Yeah, with Mobley out, a lot of these Cavs are going to get usage bumps. I do think you make a good case, like with LeVert. He probably loses usage when he's starting, so he might be someone I probably don't play on my one team. The Jared Allen call, Neil wrote him up earlier. I do think like the Suns are going to have a very difficult time with Jared Allen, but if like you said, if his ownership gets up there, he's a fine fade. Like, we have a ton of good options on the slate. I think I'd prefer playing Naz Reid at 5K once we figure out this Gobert news. But currently in our first sim, we're getting Jared Allen. I'm fine with Jared Allen. The Strus I would prefer, like, if we're going to the like Dean Wade. If Dean Wade's starting, I have zero interest in Dean Wade from a value perspective. Cavs are the number 1 team in our sims, so I guess we have to look to some of these guys. I like Mitchell. I think Mitchell falls behind Brunson for me. I am sure where you're at on that. Yeah. Any Garland? Are you playing any Garland? Hello?
Yeah, so Adrian is saying in our chat, why is Richards not in the player pool? He is. Give it a refresh. He was out of there for some reason. But, yeah, he's back in. So, yeah, I noticed that as well, too, when you mentioned it. I was trying to look at Richards. But, yeah, he's in. For whatever reason, they're doing some refreshing. And the latest update at 112 and change, so it just went down. He is in there. By the way, Speaking of the latest update, I ran some optimal stuff. The one player hitting the most of my lineups, I maxed it at 80%, so nobody's hitting the max here, Bobby, is Jared Allen. Yeah, it's, not surprising. Levert is hitting I thought Levert would be kind of sneaky. He's hitting them now, which I don't like. But also the first one has 4 Cavs, and I'm not running 4 Cavs. If you're doing that in cash, I guess you can do that in cash. You can get away with it.
I think that's like a strong fade.
Yeah, I don't like him when he's gonna be popular, and I think he's gonna be popular on DK and not so much on FanDuel because FanDuel he's distinctly more. He's in the 5s. Yeah. His projections about 25 fantasy points at 4. Just 4.2 is a really good price for him. We'll see. I mean, and a lot of news to drop, so we're not certain it's gonna shake out that way. K-Town Spawn is asking about Niang playing either small forward or power forward. Are you asking where we should play him? Is that the question? Or do we just like him? Do we want to play Niang at the small forward or the power forward? Well, I want to play Nas if we lose Gobert at power forward. Teammate Max Strus, you can also play at the small forward. Small forward's not great as a position overall today. Have you put much thought into this? I'm not sure if that's the question, but I think that's the question.
I think I would prefer just getting to Strus over Niang.
Horace wants to know Levert or Connolly.
Levert or Conley?
Yeah.
I would go Levert, but 2 players I'm probably trying not to roster, especially if either of them are getting very chalky, which I think they are.
I would say Levert has more upside than Connolly. That's just, yeah.
I think they both run into the same problem where they're going to lose usage to other players that they're starting with.
We currently have Conley projected for 24 minutes, 20 fantasy points. We know he's old at this point. I would take Levert, unless I would say unless that makes it my 4th Cav. No, I would say Levert in the vacuum. Eric's asking about Jerome, Todd Jerome. It's fine, but he's not my favorite Cav. His minutes are still a little bit hard to come by. We're giving him 20. I think he's a pretty good player. I don't know if I need that kind of salary saver. I don't know if you've considered Ty Jerome.
I don't think I need the salary saver either. I think he'd fall behind Niang and Strus for me. He'd probably be ahead of Dean Wade. Didn't talk about Garland enough. If Brunson is going to be, everyone's just going to play Brunson, so the Cavs they're going to get to is Garland, I would imagine.
I like him.
Yeah, I know you do. Based on what I'm looking at, I can tell that you like him. Maybe getting up to Mitchell.
What are you looking at? I didn't write about him today.
I just ran the opto, and I can just see your favorite place.
Yeah. Just, the absence of Mobley, pretty good trickle down. Phoenix, good matchup as well. Let me see. He is actually, what is he? He's hitting 40% of the stuff I ran. Yeah. And I had a little bit of variance, right? But just, and I'm not running 100 lineups anyways. I just want to get an idea of how many, what players are hitting the majority of lineups. For what it's worth, Jerome is hitting 40% of lineups. That's really surprising. Because I guess it's going star scrubsy to some degree, which
I don't think you have to do on the slate though, right?
I don't know if this is like a full. I don't know if our scrubs are good enough, and I don't think our stars aren't good enough.
Yeah,
at least right now.
I feel the same way.
We're not reaching up to get Joker. We're not reaching up to get Luka. We're reaching up to get Jason Tatum, who's good, right? We're reaching up to get Brunson again. Who's Brunson? Yeah. These guys are good, but I'm not sure if I like that strategy. I hope that's how things play out, though, if that's the case. But again, I think it's certainly the pool, if nothing else. I like Booker as my favorite Phoenix run back. I like him over Durant if I'm picking amongst those two. Just kind of the way the defensive line lines up here for Cleveland. He plays an insane amount of minutes. What he's at, 36, 37 in the season. He's in good form right now. And if I'm playing 3 Cleveland, I don't force run backs. I don't think it's an obligation. But if it happens to work out, and I don't think Booker's going to get played at all. I shouldn't say at all. but 5-game slate at some point you got to use your salary. 14%, okay, 13%, which is to me pretty low for a superstar type player on such a small slate where we have some salary to play with. Your thoughts as far as the Suns?
Yeah, Booker would be my favorite over Durant since they've made the change of the starting lineup. He's the one that's been, I feel like has played the best, and I'm going to ride the hot hand. Going to see Dean Wade defense, whatever that means for Booker. He's a professional scorer. He'll be fine. Not really worried about that.
Is that who's going to be on him? I haven't really put much thought into that. I knew it wouldn't be Allen. You think Wade's going to be the guy? They kind of move him around, but
I think it might be Wade. Yeah.
I mean, Mitchell's not a great defender. Levert's, Garland, whoever. They don't have the best wing defense. Their defense is much better on the inside than the outside, which is. I think they did like the way Strus is defending. Supposedly, he did a good job of learning in Miami, the Heat culture stuff. But I don't think there's anybody that I'm afraid of. Is the long story short, as far as subduing Booker on the Cleveland the wing stuff. So.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to really be able to do that on Cleveland. Shoot, outside of Booker's the one that's popping the most in our sims. I think it just points to him being probably the best option. Do we have any news on Beal? Like, I feel like if Beal sits, it's a bump to Booker in some way.
We did just get the Cat and Towns are game time decisions. Who could have seen that coming, right? Of course, that's what they do all the time. We have nothing on Beal, which, by the way, if Beal doesn't go, Tyus Jones has been getting a ridiculous amount of assists. He's been handling the ball a lot. His price has come up a little bit, but I would say he's in the pool at least. But I think it also raises the ceiling incrementally for Booker and for Durant as well. Boston, Golden State, speaking of not getting news, we don't know about Steph Curry. Oh, we should say we got a winner. We did get a winner. I did call it because several people in chat were saying the answer, and I don't like to repeat myself, and I don't like to keep saying the same thing going over. But, yeah, YouTube, it's great. We love the participation. But if you want to get yourself a week free RG Premium and you're going to answer our questions for the old Movie Monday, you got
bless me.
Discord, bless you. So several people were given the answer, but they just didn't feel like, which is fine, did not feel like jumping in the Discord for whatever reason. But Ramazan took it down. I'll give the answer in a second, but I'll give a couple clues because we're behind. Botany, instructor, isolation, fertilizer. These two also go together. They go together. Fertilizer and potato. I think you've seen this movie. I feel like
I haven't.
Yeah. The star of this movie is very much in line with your hometown. Okay.
Mark Wahlberg?
No, but no. Do you see his new movie looks so bad? They don't even say Mark Wahlberg. That's how bad his star has fallen. They say starring. They show the flight movie.
I seen that. I noticed that they didn't.
He's got the bald cap on. They don't even say starring Mark Wahlberg. That's like they're ashamed that he's in the movie.
He's rich enough, so
yeah. I mean, good for him. He's fine. But like, what happened? Boston. Speaking of Boston, Golden State is at home. 224 is the line. They're currently 10-point dogs. This is an hour and a half after Phoenix, Cleveland. So we may not have clarity as far as Steph Curry. This is the back half of the TNT doubleheader as well. Steph is currently questionable. They're already without a plethora. No Kuminga, no Pods, no Draymond, no slow-mo Kyle Anderson. We're projecting Steph, Schroeder, Santos, Wiggins, TJD to draw the start for Golden State. Boston is fully healthy. Would not shock. Nah. I was going to say, I don't think they're not in the front end of a back-to-back, right? I have this written down. New York's in the front end. The Bulls and the Clippers, we don't care about. They're not on our slate. They're in the back end. But, yeah, Boston as of right now, fully healthy, playing other dudes in Golden State. We don't know about Steph. If he doesn't go, I think Buddy Hield's a fine play right now, and he would become an awesome play. He will be tasked with taking a lot of shots, and Moody would probably get a bump as well. Schroeder would project really excellent. Santos is an interesting flyer. I think of note. He's the 3K on DK, I believe. If you're looking for a 3K flyer, I think you could do a lot worse. Probably a mopper if this game gets fully ugly. Your thoughts with the Celtics and the Warriors?
Yeah, Porzingis at 7K is currently the highest owned in our optimals, which I kind of question that a little bit, but it's a good price tag for Porzingis, so I'm fine with that. Jaylen Brown, shooting guard, small forward. I think he would fall behind. Porzingis is my second favorite Celtic, and then Tatum. They are fully healthy. Tough to really roster them, but they're hitting a bunch of our stuff currently. They're the second highest team we have in terms of sims, team exposure. So someone's going to be valuable here, I would imagine. On the Golden State side, really just you have to be cognizant of the Steph news. And for me, like if Steph were to sit Schroeder and Hield and Wiggins, guys like that would become valuable. Trace Jackson Davis. You're all about backloading, so maybe leaving some spots open for this game. I think that's a route you're looking to take, I would imagine.
Yeah, again, you have to sort of like I'm not planning on playing Steph Curry, but if I was, I would not have just Steph Curry sitting right there. You know what I mean? Have a strategy for that. I think I might save a spot for Buddy Hield, who's like fine, but can get a nice bump. I might save a spot for Schroeder, who's fine, but he would get a healthy bump as well. And maybe run it back with one of these Boston guys. I don't necessarily have a favorite, but I'm fine with Brown. I'm fine with Tatum, whoever works salary-wise. You mentioned Porzingis, the zinger. At 7K on DK, that's a pretty positive price as well. But a lot of it is just sort of, jockeying for, waiting for news and just trying to figure that out.
Yep.
Which is why, again, we'll have the crunch time guys come on here momentarily. Not saying you can't play anybody in Detroit, Houston. And you can always just lock one guy in. Like, for whatever reason, you have this feeling that Şengün's going to drop 70 in Detroit. Okay. Just play Şengün and backload the rest of it. I would not stack the first game is kind of what I'm getting at. And, if you're doing large field stuff, you're making 100 lineups, I guess you can, if this game goes double overtime, sure, you can have at it. But that's just not for me. Trey and Johnson are both officially in. No surprise there. By the way, the movie, Botany, Instructor, Isolation, Fertilizer, Potato, I believe it was guessed in YouTube by several people after their one or two clues. It was guessed really, really quickly. Very, very quickly, which is why. What if I said Jason Dominguez? Jason Dominguez. Does that help you in any way?
No. Who is that? I've heard the name before. I have no idea.
He plays for the New York Yankees, and he's got a nickname. And his nickname is the name of this movie. So, yeah.
Closer?
No. He's a hitter. He's an outfielder.
No
Marvin is also the name of the movie in the Looney Tunes world.
The Martian?
Yeah, there you go. And Matt Damon is the guy who was referenced. You remember? You know Matt Damon, right?
What movie did you? What was the movie here?
Well, the movie is The Martian.
Oh, The Martian. Matt Damon was. I've never even heard of it.
It's a spectacular movie. You've never seen it before? It's very good.
Never.
Put it on the list.
I will.
I don't know if you have a queue or not, but
it's one thing you're good at is movies. You know your movies, except Gladiator.
I got there eventually. I came around. Okay. Crunch time's here. Do you want to give the people who's breaking the slate?
Yeah. I'm going to stick with Ja Morant. I like Ja Morant.
Mark Sanchez in the chat. The Mark Sanchez? Mark Sanchez in the chat. Mitchell or Ja for DK tournaments. I guess you like Ja.
I like Ja, yeah. You like Mitchell. I get it.
I like them both, but I think it's a lineup construction question. Not to pull a blender, but I think it's lineups, not players, right?
I think Ja just gets super squeezed.
Probably, but I think also let's just confirm this before Mitchell's like the best player on Cleveland, right? But
he's going to get squeezed too. Yeah, that's a good point.
So he's the 5th or 6th most popular player on Cleveland, right? Yeah. His projection is essentially the same as Garland and Allen for what it's worth, but just if you're playing the ownership game, I think Mitchell's also an interesting ownership play. Okay, let's do it. Let's bring on crunch time. We have Tasteful Tides Tim, Kyle Murray, and Kevin Roth. Here it is, crunch time right now. All right, a couple questions. Can anybody vouch The Martian? Has anybody seen The Martian? Anybody want to vouch for The Martian?
Wait, who has never heard of The Martian?
All three of us.
Really, you don't know? Yeah,
me, Kyle, and Tim have never heard of it.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
definitely Tim has.
No, Tim hasn't. I can
don't
tell
know.
by the look in his face.
I'm looking it up right now.
Dean, who are we working with? Who are these people?
Let's start our own company, Kevin.
You serious?
Yeah, I've never even heard of this movie.
It's Matt Damon.
It's spectacular. Yeah, it's really, really good.
I seen Interstellar with Matt Damon. That's
Well, he's
a lot
not the-
better than The
he's-
Martian.
He's kind of like sneakily in that. Like oh, that's right. He's in this movie. Like 2 hours in. So
Yeah.
there's Matt Damon.
Interstellar is a great movie.
Yeah,
Of
great
course.
movie. I don't know if it's comparable. Roth, have you seen Interstellar?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it a lot. The Martian is also really good. You should watch it.
Yeah,
I'll
put it
check
on
it
the list and get back to me. You're welcome. I don't want to be the guy, Kyle. I don't want to be the guy, but I'm sorry. It's not your fault, as Matt Damon would say. It's not your fault. But
well, I was there, so maybe it was my fault. Maybe I was bad luck or something. But yeah, not ideal. Still recovering.
Yeah, sorry about that, Kyle. I know it was probably tough.
Bobby's saying he's sorry.
I was thinking about that as I was watching it. I was like, Kyle's at this game.
A half hour ago, Bobby wasn't saying sorry for Kyle. He says, I just knew Washington was going to beat Detroit.
I just had a feeling like is Jaden Daniels not the MVP? Like he must be the MVP. He's the actual MVP.
Oh, he's the rookie of the year.
He's rookie of the year and MVP. Look what he's doing with this team. That's absolute. Look at the team around him.
Yeah, that team is like 2-15 or whatever without him.
Yeah, without Jaden Daniels, that team is absolutely horrible.
Well,
I'm
also,
glad me and Roth can agree before I get off the show.
not to completely bury Bobby again. But Kyle, I don't know if you were watching or not, but Bobby said, Dan Campbell's a terrible coach and he's never going to win anything.
He's not. He can't win. He does too much stupid stuff. We've seen it over and over again. You have to make better decisions in crunch time.
I mean, like the main bad decision that they made coaching was that Jameson Williams pass attempt. That was just horrendous. And that wasn't him. That was Ben Johnson. But that was just trying to do too much when you were already in a 2 steps back. So, but in terms of like being aggressive on 4th down, Dan Campbell got a lot of flack for that in years past. But now other guys are starting to do it more. I mean, Dan Quinn on the other side, Washington, he's doing it even more than Dan Campbell now. So I think that's just the way the NFL is turning, and I think Dan Campbell was a little early to that. But no, I think Dan Campbell's a good coach. I think, if anything, Jared Goff is the one that I'm kind of questioning if he can take him to the next step, because obviously when things fell apart defensively, he just wasn't able to sort of pick up the pieces when they needed him to.
I thought he got concussed and they let him back in that game, and I wonder if that had an after effect.
When they put Teddy Bridgewater in, I was never more confused in my entire life. I was like, what the hell? I knew they signed Teddy Bridgewater, but I just figured he'd be like the emergency quarterback. I was
He
baffled.
definitely took that. That was a helmet to helmet hit. He got leveled.
Who was the 2 all year for Detroit? Because how did he jump from
Hendon Hooker.
Who was it?
Hendon Hooker, he has no experience, so that's probably why they had Bridgewater there. Or did they just know something about Hooker that he's just not ready?
Yeah. Yeah. Teddy, I don't know if you know. I guess you know. He was coaching high school football a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
they mentioned that in the broadcast. It's like,
hilarious.
Teddy Bridgewater, and then the Jameson Williams was made love. He had sex with the floor, which is amazing.
Let's let him throw a pass 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
All right, we got anything else here, Bobby? Before we let them talk a little bit of basketball.
That's it, guys. Have a good luck today. Have a good show.
Thanks, you too.
Time, everyone.
Thank you.
All righty, Roth, go ahead and take it away.
Good stuff, as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. You know the drill. It's crunch time. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz coming at you on this MLK Day, on this early slate, this early show. Excited to be here, to have something to do with my day other than hang out with the kids who I love. But a little bit of sweat in the game is fun as well. I got Kyle Murray in the house. What up, Kyle? I know you're feeling down, but you feel like winning some money today or what?
Of course, yeah. Basketball always brings me some happiness, so that's good. I will say it's a weird, doing the early slate, because a lot of times I'm doing the overnight projection. So it's like I go to sleep doing projections, and then you wake up and you're onto it right next day. I do like the early day the sweat though, so that'd be fun.
Okay, good. Well, I'm excited about that as well. We got Tim, TastefulTides in the house. What up, Tides? I see your beard coming back a little bit. You're bringing it back?
I'm trying to bring it back, Kevin. I'm doing the best I can here. Yeah, I mean,
It's coming in.
What's that?
I said it's coming in pretty quick. It's not like you were long.
Yeah. It's a couple more weeks. I think we'll be good to go. Yeah, definitely going to be a fun little slate here. We've got some injury news that we're waiting on, and we just got Karis LeVert with a midday questionable tag, and he was going to be super popular and super important for this slate. So that's kind of an interesting wrinkle that we're going to have to worry about now.
Ooh, are we going to know his deal before lock or no?
Not before lock. But I would just say from a macro perspective, the guys talked about it on the previous show. This very first game, this 2:00 game between Detroit and Houston, there certainly are some GPP plays if you're playing multiple teams, but if you're a single entry player like me, I'm just skipping this first game because I don't think it's very good from a DFS perspective, and it allows us to maybe get some more news for the slate.
Okay, that is actually a very good note. All right, guys, well, let's dive into it. We got 25 minutes until lock, and we can start either with just a general overview, or Tim, you can dive right into it on FanDuel, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, I'll dive into it on FanDuel. Sure. The very first person that I want to talk about, which is also kind of an overarching thought about the slate, is that Karl Anthony Towns is questionable. And so Jalen Brunson, he already rates out extremely well, and that's with Towns currently in projections. So that's why Noto's got him on the core plays. That's why Noto has him cored for him on FanDuel for 9,100. So Brunson's already a really strong play, and then he would be an absolute smash play if Cat were to sit. So definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, he's a really strong play today. I mean, we had a question in chat earlier about if Daniels is going to affect his matchup, because he's such a good defender. I mean, yes, but I mean, I still think Brunson does really well in this matchup, and he projects for such high minutes. So, and then
the usage,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then Steph Curry's another guy that we should talk about real quick because he is questionable, and that game doesn't start till 5 Eastern. And that could end up being a ton of value on Golden State. So guys like Dennis Schroeder would really end up being a really strong value at the point guard position. Buddy Hield, same thing. You can play both Schroeder and Hield at the shooting guard position. So, but either way, point guard, shooting guard, those would be fantastic plays if Curry were to sit.
But Tim, if you play for that, are you just left with your pants around your ankles if Curry is in?
I think Schroeder on FanDuel is okay, even if Curry's in. Hield, I think he's okay also. I really wouldn't want to play Hield if Curry was in, but he doesn't rate out that badly. He's already projected for 27 minutes and 22 fantasy points. I mean, it's not terrible, and that, like I said, that's with Curry in. So it's probably not ideal, but it might be worth the gamble if we don't have that actual news.
Gotcha.
And then they talked about Ja Morant on the last show. I really like that call that Bobby made. I like that for GPPs. And then we have to talk about this Cleveland situation. A couple pieces are out. We got Karis LeVert now questionable. So guys like Darius Garland he's pretty cheap on FanDuel at 7,500. So I wouldn't mind paying up for him also.
Okay, good stuff. Kyle, what are you doing at point guard on FanDuel?
Yeah, I think a lot of the names to mention are really strong plays. Garland and Brunson are the guys up top. I do agree that I think Schroeder's a pretty solid play. Even if Curry is in, so you can definitely play him, and then obviously only gets better if Curry's out. Probably play a few more minutes and see some more usage as well. Conley, as long as he's going to stay in the starting lineup, I would be surprised if he doesn't. But with DiVincenzo out there, he should be back in there. Last game he played about 23 minutes, but the game kind of went a little sideways at the end there. So I'm thinking maybe 24 to 25 minutes could be a solid projection for Conley, who he's not a huge producer anymore, and he's probably not a huge GPP ceiling play, but he is very cheap. So don't mind having him on the list there. Mitchell, who benefits with no Mobley, John Morant, those guys mentioned that call, like that play quite a bit. He's projecting for 13% ownership right now, so I like that one. Ty Jerome as well, another guy who's similar to Conley, where he's probably going to play low 20s minutes and not have like a huge ceiling, but again, does project as a solid value play. And even despite some of the injuries, Cleveland's still pretty heavily favored there, so 8-point favorites. So Ty Jerome, if that game does blow out, could potentially play 20 minutes in their normal game, and then maybe even play 25, 26 minutes if that game blows out. So I don't mind taking a gamble there. And then I guess Steph Curry is another guy who, if you wanted to play, you have to be careful because that game is the last one that locks. And the 2 games that lock prior to that are at 3 and 3:30. So quite a big range of, you could potentially be stuck there. But you do have a couple of Boston guys that you could pivot. I would just try to make sure that you have flexibility in your lineups.
Okay, good stuff. How about shooting guard?
Yeah, up at the top, I do like Anthony Edwards quite a bit here. So I think you could definitely make a case for John Morant and Anthony Edwards lineups, just kind of stacking those 2 up, hoping that game's close and competitive, and these guys are kind of maxing out on minutes. Because we have seen that in Memphis games where they're not super close, super competitive. It's very easy for them to kind of spread guys out and play right around 30 minutes for these key stars. But in games that have been really competitive lately, they have been playing 32 plus minutes. So I think stacking those guys up does make some sense. Desmond Bane, same kind of deal. I do like John Morant more, but Desmond Bane's a little bit cheaper. So if you wanted to go down that road, those 2 are pretty similar in terms of the game theory aspect. Jaylen Brown, Max Strus at 4-2 is a solid value play with no Mobley. Should play 25, 26 minutes or so, maybe even a couple more. Schroeder, Devin Booker, Caris LeVert, obviously big Q tag now, but he was a guy that was going to be pretty popular, and I would say a decent value play at 5-3 on FanDuel. And then if Karl-Anthony Towns is out again, I played Bridges last time out with no Towns. He had an okay game, but he's just playing so many minutes. Like, he played 38 minutes last game, and I would assume that they're going to continue to do that with him. So if this game stays close, 7-point spread here, so not a guarantee, but if Cat's out, that spread will probably get a little bit closer. He could play 40 minutes. So I get he hasn't been a very good permanent producer this year, but 6-1 upside to play 40 minutes. Yeah. I don't mind McCall Bridges.
Yeah, love that call. All right, Tim, your thoughts on shooting guard?
Yeah, Anthony Edwards is my favorite play in terms of raw points, 9,300. Should play big minutes in a very, very high pace matchup. So I do like him quite a bit in all formats. Caris LeVert was going to be my next guy in. Now I'm not so sure. We'll have to possibly wait and see. If he doesn't play, then I really like Max Strus. He's shooting at small forward at 4,200. So he would end up being a really strong value option. Donovan Mitchell, I think at 8,700, especially again, like if LeVert sits, that's just a little bit more opportunities for these guys to, get fantasy points. So I think Donovan Mitchell at 8,700 is a pretty reasonable play. We talked about Schroeder at point guard. He's also shooting guard eligible, so he's fine whether Curry's in or out. I think that would really pretty much run out my pool. I do like Kyle's call on Mikal Bridges. I think that's a really good call. Going to play really, really big minutes at 6,100, so I would add him in. I think you can play him in large field or smaller field type contests.
Okay, I'm just looking at Strus here. I think he's our highest projected owned shooting guard, even without knowing what's going down. So are you playing him regardless, or are you only playing him if LeVert is out?
I'm definitely playing him. I'll tell you this. I'm definitely playing him if LeVert is out. I don't think there's going to be much of a question on that. He's not currently in my lineup, but I'm going to be doing a lot of moving around after lock. So yeah. Strus is currently not my lineup, but that might be a bad play. But if LeVert sits, I definitely want him in.
Gotcha. Okay. In the interest of speed here, I just want to do forward together. So Tim, take me through small forward and power forward.
All right. So we already talked about Anthony Edwards at shooting guard. He's also small forward on FanDuel. I don't mind. Where did he go? Jared Allen. Sorry. Jared Allen has power forward eligibility on FanDuel. I think he's a fantastic play. So at 7,500, I think he's cash game viable. He's in our first optimal right now. So I absolutely love Jared Allen. I think for value at 5,200, Jaden McDaniels is a perfectly reasonable value play. We haven't even talked about center yet, so we haven't even talked about Rudy Gobert, who's questionable. If we lose Gobert, Naz Reid is like a must play. As it stands right now, Naz Reid is already a pretty reasonable play at 5,700 center power forward eligibility. So I really like Naz Reid. But if Gobert sits, then I think he's pretty much like a lock and load type play. Bobby made a good point in the last show. Porzingis is simming really well. So if you want to take like a contrarian option that I think has a ceiling, I don't mind Porzingis at 7,800.
Good stuff, Kyle. Your favorites at forward, both small forward and power forward. You're muted, bud.
Sorry about that. Yeah, McDaniel is probably my favorite, salary relief type player. He's been playing more significant minutes finally, and he's probably their best defensive player. And although they've lost 2 of their last 3 games against a couple tough teams, the Timberwolves are finally starting to look a little bit better on the defensive side. So I think he'll continue to see mid-30s minutes. So I like McDaniels. Love Jared Allen here. I think he's worth that chalk there. I will say if Strus is going to maintain this sort of popularity and LeVert plays, I don't mind fading that. I get that he's really cheap, but he's also a guy that's really dependent on scoring and specifically hitting threes, and that's not really a good a FanDuel scoring type play. So I wouldn't mind fading there and looking for a pivot, although there aren't really a ton of direct pivots that are fantastic options. But I think Strus is fine. But if LeVert plays, I think that could be a spot people could look to fade and get a little bit different there. Some other guys I like. I love the Naz Reid call. Honestly, even if Gobert is out, I still think it's a strong play. Playing 24 to 26 minutes, he has the upside for 35 fantasy points. So, even if he gets in there for a few more minutes, and he's also found the way to play into the closing rotation there in a couple of games as of late. So I think his upside is even higher than where we project him currently. So I like Reid. A lot of these guys already mentioned, Desmond Bane, Jaylen Brown, McCall Bridges, obviously Karis LeVert's questionable. George Niang, I do think could be a pivot off of Max Strus. He's $300 cheaper, but he's power forward eligible, so not really necessarily a positional pivot, but salary and same team. He played, I think, 29 minutes last game, 30 fantasy points, kind of similar to Strus, where he has to get hot from 3, but he has more rebounding upside with Mobley off the floor. So I do like Niang as a contrarian tournament play. And I guess the last name I'll mention, if you're not playing John Morant or Desmond Bane, I do like Jaren Jackson here in this spot. He's had a 32-plus usage rate in 4 of his last 5 games. So even with, obviously Ja has been in and out of the lineup, but even with Ja, and he's still seeing some good usage. So I like Jaren Jackson tonight.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about center. You already mentioned Jared Allen. You already mentioned Nasty Nas. Are you playing those dudes at center, or is there someone else you love in that spot?
Well, the nice thing is all these guys are also power forward eligible on FanDuel, so it's very easy to fit multiple of these guys in your lineups. The only center only guys that I have a ton of interest in would be, I guess, Gobert. I don't think it's a bad play here, but I'm probably not getting into a ton of him because honestly, I like Naz Reid pretty similarly, and he's $600 cheaper. And then Şengün at 9.3. He is in that first game. Tim made a good point on maybe fading this first game. But I do like Şengün in this spot here, 9.3 against Detroit. He projects pretty well, but Cat is also questionable. I would say those are probably the only guys who are center only who I think are really in my player pool. The rest of these guys are also have power forward eligibility, so you can kind of mix and match and play multiple of these guys.
Gotcha. All right, Tim, your favorites at center?
Yeah, there aren't really a lot of center only guys that I like that much that we haven't talked about on power forward. But I do like Kyle's call on Şengün as a tournament option. I think Gobert is completely fine at 3,300. Getting 33 minutes at 6,300. I don't mind him in GPPs. This should be a good spot for these Minnesota players, so I don't hate him. And then Towns is always fine for GPPs. I don't want to spend that much. I think there's better ways to kind of allocate your resources. So I'm probably not going to play Cat at 10K.
Okay, fair enough. Guys, we want to kick it over to DraftKings. Before we do that, make sure you're signing up for RotoGrinders Premium. We got all kinds of good deals coming your way. And if you play multiple sports, then check this out for a limited time. Your first month, the Combo Pro is $79.99. It's just $15 more than PGA Premium. It's $5 more than NBA Premium. That is a phenomenal value play. And there's a lot of sports going on right now, so make sure you are taking advantage of that. I want to kick it to DK. We have 12 minutes until lock. Who let us off? Who let us off on FanDuel?
I think Tim did.
No,
I
Tim did. Okay.
Yeah.
Kyle, you get to lead us off on DraftKings. And again, we're just going to combine positions here. So just guard on DraftKings, point and shooting guard.
Yeah, sounds good. Up top, Edwards, Garland, Brunson, Jaylen Brown. Those are the guys that are like 7-5 and up that I like. I think Anthony Edwards is my favorite in this range. Garland, I think, is a great play. I like Garland more than Donovan Mitchell tonight. Obviously, with the price discount that you get there, but it does seem that he's getting a lot more ownership than Mitchell as well. So I think that you could easily just play Donovan Mitchell in tournaments. And I mean, I know Mitchell's had a bad year, but he's obviously still, the top guy here in this team usage wise. Down the board a little bit, I think these Cleveland guys are going to be, mainstays in a lot of lineups. LeVert's 4-2 on DraftKings. Obviously, he's questionable. Ty Jerome, Max Strus. If LeVert is out, I would prefer Ty Jerome over Max Strus, I think, from a tournament perspective, because I just think Strus would probably be the guy to be a little bit more popular. Ty Jerome's $400 more. We do have a couple guys who have Max Strus tagged. He is better on DraftKings because that 3-point bonus there, but I do like Jerome quite a bit. I just think he's a higher upside per minute player, and I do think he'd probably see mid-20s minutes there with LeVert out. So I like both of those guys, but I would prefer Jerome in tournaments. But if LeVert plays, he's still a top guy. John Morant, 8-4. Dennis Schroeder at 5-1. And then Mikal Bridges does sneak in here as a shooting guard eligible player. He's 6K on DraftKings. And like I mentioned, I would not be surprised if he plays 40 minutes today.
Okay, good stuff. Tim, your thoughts at guard?
Yeah, this whole Garland or Mitchell thing is pretty interesting because Garland is getting way more ownership. So I think it's kind of interesting to pivot to Mitchell and GPPs. And then obviously Brunson is my favorite guy for cash games, and that would just become an absolute lock type play if Cat were to sit. So I do like Brunson quite a bit. Anthony Edwards, again, love him at 9,100. I'm glad Kyle brought up Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome was popping in a lot of optimals earlier today. He still is popping in some. So I think he's a fine play if you need somebody super, super cheap. And then Karis LeVert, assuming that he plays, I think he's an absolutely fantastic play at 4,200.
Okay, let's go through the forward spots, plural. I don't know, we could split up. We'll do it together. Forward spots, Tim, on DraftKings. Any differences there from what we talked about on FanDuel, and just what do you like in general?
Not seeing huge difference. Like Santi Aldama's price on DK is 4,900. I think that's a little bit better than his price on FanDuel.
Didn't he absolutely smash the other day?
He's had 2 big games in a row.
He's done quite well the last 2 games. The last 2 games, he's gone 37-44, I think. So, I mean, he's the one guy I think we didn't mention on FanDuel that I would mention on DK. Mm-hmm. But again, it's the same kind of guys at the mid-range balance type builds like Naz Reid, McDaniels, Strus is only 3,800. He's a fantastic play. I think Kyle mentioned Yang. He's a fine play on DK as well at 3,500. So there's really a lot of decent plays. Oh, and if Gobert were to sit, I really wouldn't mind. I haven't played Julius Randle once this year, but I would take shots on Julius Randle if Gobert sits.
Okay. I feel like you've been making out like a bandit not playing him all year. Good job.
Yeah.
I doubt that's burned you too many times so far this year.
It hasn't.
Kyle, what do you like at the forward spot tier, small forward and power forward on DraftKings?
Yeah, I do like that Randle call. Memphis has been pretty weak against bigs this year, so I don't mind that. But again, I just like Naz Reid quite a bit today. So I'm kind of hoping Gobert's out, and if that's the case, I think I still prefer Naz Reid over Randle, and I'm probably not playing both of them. But if you're doing several lineups, I think Randle's a good play. McDaniels already mentioned. All these Cleveland guys, Niang, Strus. If you were looking to get different just in Cleveland alone, and maybe if you wanted to, again, I do prefer to fade him on FanDuel, Strus that is. But Dean Wade could be a guy to potentially take a look at here. Does have some rebounding upside with no Mobley. Kind of similar play to Niang, so I do prefer Niang there at the price, $200 cheaper. I love the Aldama call. I know he had 2 big games. They were both against the Spurs, who are obviously a great matchup, but I do think the industry in general is just going to have a tough time projecting Memphis because their minutes are just difficult to project. They have Gigi Jackson returning to the rotation today, so it just kind of made a difficult process to project these depth guys out. And I do think Aldama is the one guy who I do feel pretty confident on them getting him minutes because he's been one of their better players this year. So I do think the industry might just be under projecting him a bit. So I do think that even this 12% number that we have in terms of his projected ownership could be a bit too low. And I think he could be a good contrarian play. And it looks like Dean and Neil have him tagged as well. So definitely like Aldama today.
Okay. Did you mention KD? I see he's got a couple tags there.
Yeah, I meant to mention KD and Booker as well, just because if you're playing a bunch of Cleveland guys, it does make sense to maybe bring it back with the Phoenix guy. And, I think obviously KD and Booker are the top end guys. There are a couple other guys you could throw in there, but, obviously if you're playing that game for, stacking purposes, you want that game to stay close. And with Phoenix being the underdog, I do think KD and Booker pairing those guys up it does make sense, but there are just a lot of guys who project really well in that, 8K plus range. So it is a little bit difficult, but it does make sense from a game theory perspective.
Okay, good stuff. Let's kick it over to the center spot. Kyle, you get to talk there. I don't know if there's anything different on DK than FanDuel, but give me your faves.
Yeah, not too different. Allen's even cheaper on DraftKings, but however, the problem is over here, these guys aren't
got the rainbow tag there. I think everybody tagged him.
Yeah, he's in a great spot. Obviously, his minutes are gonna be a little bit better. Rebounding is gonna be better with no mobile. He did have a bad game last time out, but this is a better matchup. But it's interesting to see how Phoenix shakes out after they made the trade there for Richards. But Richards he's a solid player, but he's not a huge defensive presence. So I do think it'll be a pretty good matchup still. So I do like Jared Allen. Only center eligible for a lot of these guys that we mentioned on FanDuel. So you do have the utility spot, obviously, on DraftKings, but it does get a little bit more difficult to move these guys around. Naz Reid, I still like quite a bit. Karl-Anthony Towns, if he plays, I think is in a great spot here. And I wonder what his ownership would actually settle in at just because of this Q tag going in through lock. So I would not be surprised if it's actually under 20%. And I would like him quite a bit there, again, in this great matchup against the Hawks. One other guy that I want to mention that we didn't mention on FanDuel, I think all the guys that we mentioned on FanDuel, you can definitely play over here. But Nick Richards at 5'2", didn't mention him on FanDuel. I meant to throw him in there. He played 30 minutes in his debut for the Suns, and that was pretty surprising there. I thought that he might get worked in, maybe come off the bench to start, but they started him right away. He took 8 shots, got to the free throw line a bunch of times, played 30 minutes. So if you wanted to play a Sun and didn't want to spend up to play Booker or Kevin Durant, I think Nick Richards does make some sense. Obviously difficult because he's a center and there's some opportunity cost, but there's been days where the center position has been stronger. So you can definitely get Richards in there.
Okay. I love that call. Tim, your thoughts at center. And we talked about what we're doing if Gobert is out. What if he's in? We've got him at, what is that? 25% P-own here.
Yeah. And he's 5,400, which I think is a fantastic price in this pace up spot. So yeah, you could definitely play him. You could even play Naz Reid and him together. They both project pretty decently. So don't mind that at all in GPPs. I think I do really like Jared Allen, though. So he's definitely going to be at least one of my centers. If I play 2, he'll be one of them. I think that 6'6" price tag is just really, really nice. So I'm definitely going to be playing Allen. Cat, I guess I'm just going to fade. I know he's popping in optimals right now. I think he's a fantastic play. If people want to play him, that's fine. I think I'm going to be fading him in single entry. And I think that's pretty much covered it all for center for me.
Okay, good stuff, guys. So let's dive into the QQs. We've only got a few minutes here until lock. Achilles says, Kyle, I've got Amen Thompson popping on FanDuel as a last piece. Would you stay away from him completely given the news we're waiting for, or is it fine to play him? Looking at something like Amen and Naz Reid or OG and Porzingis.
Yeah, he is at a pretty high price tag there, but he does project pretty well on FanDuel because of all the stocks. You got a little interesting narrative there with the twins playing against each other, Amen and Asar Thompson. But I think he's a fine play, but I do think it does make sense to just leave a little bit of flexibility there for your lineups.
Okay, good answer. We got producer Steve in the house. Says, Tides, do you think Hart and Cat are more likely to sit today, since it's the front half of a back-to-back for the Knicks, or tomorrow, because it's a game against the Nets, they're more likely to sit them tomorrow because the Nets are terrible and anyone can beat the Nets regardless?
I don't know. It's tough. I never really want to lean on the Knicks sitting anyone ever. So that's just, I don't know. So I guess I'm assuming they both play.
Okay, I think that's fair. Let's see, just a couple minutes until lock. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that thumbs up. It's a holiday. We're still here giving you free content, and all that we're asking is for you hit that like and hit that subscribe button for us. Mr. Richard says, I'm just waiting as we approach the Minnesota-Memphis game to make my lineup. Basically.
I think that's fair. Yep.
Yeah. TKO says Brunson or Edwards in cash. Kyle, this is assuming Cat is in. Brunson or Edwards?
If Cat's in, I'll take Edwards slightly, but they are both close. But I do like Edwards a little bit more.
Okay.
I would say play both.
Yeah.
I like that.
In cash.
Okay. We're moments away from lock. You guys may find this to be entertaining. My whole city. We got more questions. I'll wait till after lock. Eric says Strus, Jerome, and Garland. Is that too many Cavs? Strus, Jerome, and Garland.
I think that's fine.
Okay. Very good. DKGPP, Kyle, McDaniel versus Aldama.
I do like McDaniel more. He's just safer. We're going to play more minutes, but so McDaniel's will be your pick.
Okay, great. We are seconds away from the lock. It looks like we did catch up on all the questions here. DK Cash, if Gobert plays, are you playing him in cash, Tim? DK Cash.
I'm not sure because I know I'll be playing Jared Allen. Not really sure what I'll do with that Utah spot yet, but I certainly wouldn't fault you if you wanted to play him.
Yeah. All right. Donnie says DKGPP Booker over Brunson, given he's coming in at half the ownership. Kyle, Booker over Brunson.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem playing Booker. I do think Brunson's the better play. I think on DraftKings, though, the one thing that is interesting is I really like Cat over there, so I wouldn't mind playing Cat over Brunson and then sliding in Booker there. That's obviously a lot of salary there, but that's I think you could think of doing if you wanted to play Booker over Brunson.
Okay, good note, guys. We have hit the lock here. We got a full day of basketball. I'm excited for that. Tonight and into tomorrow, Houston, where I live, is going to get shut down by snow. Yes, we have a legitimate snowstorm, 2 to 4 inches of snow, which to you guys is probably like
nothing.
Yeah, we don't have snow plows.
We had not I think 10 inches last night.
That's just absolutely absurd. It's going to be 2 to 4 inches of snow, and it will absolutely cripple the city. So I may be here tomorrow with you. I just got the email school is canceled. So we will see. I may be here tomorrow. I may not. We may have internet. The whole place may turn into an ice apocalypse. I don't know. But either way, we appreciate you guys. For Kyle, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. We appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been